Hey there friends, welcome back to another Legally Armed America video. I'm of course Paul Glasgow here, and what a crazy story I have for you guys today. Did you hear about Secretary of Department of Homeland Security Kristi Noem having her purse stolen from her while she was receiving Secret Service protection in downtown DC at a restaurant? Crazy story. First of all, guys, if you don't mind, go check out my friends CMMG. They are at cmmg. These guys not only make some of the finest firearms on the planet, I've got them everywhere in here. I just love the craftsmanship. I was a big fan of theirs well before I ever started doing any work with CMMG. I've been a customer of theirs for many, many years. Small parts kits were always incredible. I always would change out a lot of my small parts kits from them in my existing AR-15s, no matter the brand actually. These guys make some good stuff, but they walk the walk. They don't just talk the talk. These guys have been part of, from a monetary standpoint, and actually getting on board of court cases in the past that infringed upon people's rights. These guys put their money where their mouth is, and I'm proud to be associated with them. Use my code FTATF. Again, FTATF. You know the code. Over at cmmg. And receive 10% off. Again, go to cmmg. And use my discount code FTATF. Guys, surely you heard about this by now, right? Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem's bag, including $3,000 in cash, is stolen from a D.C. restaurant. That's right, her bag was stolen during a dinner outing at a Washington, D.C. restaurant last night. Noem's bag also contained her driver's license, passport, DHS badge, makeup, I'm sure there was a lot of makeup in there, checks, we're talking about blank checks, not checks written to her. We're talking about a blank checkbook. I didn't know people still wrote checks, but whatever. Medication and apartment keys, a spokesman confirmed to the Post. What a security nightmare that must be, right? So now they have to rekey her apartment. I'm sure somebody raced over there first, right? To see if somebody was even there. Her medication is not really a big deal. Being from South Dakota, I'm sure it wouldn't be hard for her to get a pharmacist locally to give her that same medication back to her. DHS bag, badge rather. I'm sure you have to redo that so somebody's not using that old badge. Again, not a big deal there. Driver's license, what a pain in the butt. She's got to go get her own real ID driver's license now, like she's told everybody else to go get. Now I guess she has to stand in line. The biggest question mark for everybody, it seemed like, was the $3,000 in cash. Now, I thought the same thing. I'm not a wealthy person, but if I were, I still couldn't see myself carrying around $3,000 in cash. Seemed kind of strange to me. Although, if you remember, the Trump administration came out early on and said that they were going to cancel a bunch of government credit cards out there, right? There was twice as many government credit cards than there were people working for the government. Well, when they tried to cancel them, I don't know who it was, American Civil Liberties, somebody came out and said, oh, you can't do that. You can't just cancel the cards. So the Trump administration said, okay, fine, we won't cancel them. So they made the limit $1 on all of them. Weeded out the abuse real fast on that by taking that away. Free money, our money. Not free from us, it's free from us, not free to us. So I have to believe that she's really being careful not to use the company credit card, if you know what I mean. But it also came out that that cash was for the Easter weekend celebrations that she was planning to have. Newsweek actually reached out to DHS and they were told via an email that Noem had the $3,000 in cash to, quote, treat her family to dinner activities and Easter gifts, unquote. We can confirm this occurred last night. Her entire family was in town, including her children and grandchildren. So I feel like that's still a lot of money, but if you're being really careful to bring people who are staying from out of town into town to meet with you, I would assume it's probably a good handful of people, you're probably going to be really careful on how you spend your money. Still don't understand why she wouldn't use her own personal credit card, but nevertheless, it's not for me to know, and quite frankly, I don't really care. I'm only asking these questions because I see everybody else asking them. Maybe she's old school enough where she still prefers to use cash. Cool on her. You know what? She probably travels really securely with Secret Service protection. More on that in a second. So she's probably not really worried about that $3,000 in cash. I doubt the theft was associated with the cash, if you know what I mean. In fact, the Secret Service, who provides security for Noem, reviewed security camera footage at the restaurant and saw an unknown white male wearing a medical mask steal her bag and leave the restaurant. Well, that eliminates about 50% of the population right there, right? Because it's definitely a Democrat. He's wearing a mask, not a ski mask, not a Batman mask. You know what kind of mask it was, an N95 mask or whatever. Maybe a crocheted one. Remember during COVID they told you could crochet one with the big holes and it'd be just as effective as an N95? So we've got most of DC that's still in play here because most of DC is 90-something% Democrat. So it's still a massive net, but you can certainly exclude all the potential conservatives in that area because they're not buying into the mass garbage anymore. So still a pretty wide area that you have to search. 90-something% in DC is a lot of people. But you know this isn't your everyday run-of-the-mill typical Washington, D.C. theft. You know that. I mean, I know crime is rampant in that Democrat cesspool of D.C. You know that's not what this is. You just know it. You got somebody who sees, and you know they recognize who Kristi Noem is. They also see suited up guys in a suit and tie with a little earpiece in, knowing their Secret Service, so they know she's got protection. All this going on, and they still not only manage to, but are successful at stealing her purse. This would be, if you took that restaurant and looked at everybody in there from a hierarchy standpoint, the most powerful person in that restaurant at that time. And they targeted that person and their personal belongings and were successful at stealing it. I don't care if she went to the restroom. I don't care if she went up to go look at how nice the cuts of steak were. I don't care if she was going to pick out her lobster. You can't tell me that there wasn't anything there. I think this is an inside job because if the Secret Service is that pathetic, it tells me a lot about the Secret Service. I expected this last summer with all the fumblings and screw-ups of the assassination attempts against Trump. I don't expect this now. Trump has talked about going in there and just disrupted the whole organization, putting his key man in charge of the whole organization, the guy that was there with him in Butler, Pennsylvania when he was shot. So I expect more out of the Secret Service right now. How in the world, if this is a beefed up organization, I understand this is the DHS secretary, but still, I don't think you protect less based on that hierarchy or that position that the person is in. You see what I mean? I don't think you're okay with them kind of getting killed because they don't rank as high as the president. Surely you try your best no matter what. You don't want anybody to die, be hurt, or be stolen from. This is really perplexing to me that this could be a successful burglary attempt. And not just that, the person was able to leave the establishment and they don't know where they are. This was a day ago. Yet this person went in this restaurant, stole the secretary's purse, and nobody saw them, right? They got it from security camera footage. I guess we have to know more about what was going on at that very moment. I guess it's possible that everybody in the room left and they left their personal belongings in there and nobody was supervising any of it. I assume that's a possibility, but nobody saw with a Secret Service detail. Nobody saw this person. I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around this. It doesn't make sense. What makes me mad, though, and it really does, because Democrats didn't care about the border for 4 years. Now the Democrats are coming out and going, oh, surely we're not safe. Our Department of Homeland Security person had her own purse stolen. Like throwing shade on Noem that she's doing a bad job in her normal job because somebody stole her purse. This is like blaming the person who was raped for what she was wearing because she got raped for wearing a skirt that was too short. Talk about victim blaming. Typical Democrat tactic here. Oh, let's blame the victim. The true victim, let's blame them. Kind of like the Metcalf thing. Got a guy that's dead and they're saying he's the bad guy. They're blaming Kristi Noem for her purse being stolen. Again, this whole age of accountability, it doesn't exist in their eyes. It's always somebody else's fault. It ain't the criminal's fault. It's the person who got done wrong. It's always their fault. We can always blame somebody else. Don't blame the bad guy. Please don't blame the bad guy. So they're blaming her, and again, trying to throw shade as if somehow she's doing a bad job. Let's be real honest. We know Kristi Noem, at least via Tom Homan and through Donald Trump, is doing a really good job on the border. We know this. The left knows this. For them to question our safety and border security amidst a purse being stolen is very disingenuous. Because again, for 4 years they didn't give two rips about the border, and they see it right now. That's why they're so enraged and trying to protect these illegal aliens down in El Salvador, because they see how good of a job Homan, Noem, and Trump are doing on the border right now. That's why they're so pissed off. So this gives them an opportunity to go, nah, 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 nah. See, she got her purse stolen. They're not so good after all. Look at the border, right? In fact, illegal border crossings from March dropped even further than they had before to just over 7,000 for the whole month. That's down 94% from March of last year during the Biden administration, when they had 137,000 people. In 1 year, we reduced those illegal border crossings by 130,000. We know what the border looked like under Mayorkas. More on that dickhead in a minute. No one will ever mistake today's border with what they saw back during the Biden administration. Things have changed, and they know it. It's a ghost town along the border now, instead of being some popular hotspot for all the illegal aliens from South America, Central America, and Mexico. But this asshole right here, you know, I don't think we have executed a traitor since 1862, I believe it was. I think it was 1862. I believe it was someone tore down an American flag during the Civil War, and they considered that treason, and they were put to death. I'm not saying anything that's going to get me in trouble. I want you to compare what Mayorkas did with somebody in 1862 tearing down an American flag. And that guy got put to death. I'm not saying that anything should happen to Mayorkas. I'm certainly not saying any violence against him should be had. That's not what I'm saying. This is my truthful disclaimer. I don't mean anybody to do him any harm. What I would like to see is him arrested. And if some kind of capital punishment is necessary because of what he allowed to happen for 4 years, let that legally happen and put him to death legally. I think he should be put to death legally for treason. Again, make it very clear. I'm not one to ever say somebody should go out and do something frivolous and illegal and wrong and give anybody any real damage or whatever. You know what I'm saying. This is the whole disclaimer thing for the FBI or whoever else is watching. But I do think it's a justifiable thing to try this man and put him to death. Again, compare that to tearing down a flag in 1862. Whoop-de-doo. Yeah, I'd like to see some justice here, because I've seen other forms of treason. If you remember, I believe we had two German, I think they were American citizens actually, but they had German heritage during World War II, that came back using U-boats to the United States, snuck into the country, and we're going to blow up different institutions like financial institutions or things like that. That would disrupt the economy and the workings and happenings within the United States. I don't see how what Mayorkas did is much different than that. What he did by allowing all these illegals into the country is very, very similar to anybody else trying to create some kind of disruption within the country, because they knew that's what it was going to do. Things weren't going to get better with illegal aliens in this country. They could only get worse when you're letting the worst of the worst into this country. So again, all this other stuff that we keep talking about, which we never see any real repercussions anyway, so what, we ain't going to expect anything from Mayorkas. But all these things that we call for, we never see anything. This is one I'd like to see somebody really address seriously with Trump. Go after Mayorkas. Now that's going to mean having to go after Biden also. And of course, if Biden was gone after, Jill and everybody else will scream who is really calling the shots. So it's going to be a ripple effect if that does take place. Mayorkas ain't going down quietly if that does happen. But boy, I would sure like to see a congressman or somebody else like that call for Mayorkas and call for him to be arrested and tried for what he did. I think we'd get a lot of answers to a whole lot of stuff if that were to actually happen. You talk about the Epstein list. If this guy were to be tried, you talk about heads rolling throughout that Biden administration and people who weren't even officially part of that Biden administration. You know who I'm talking about, right? Guys, have a great day. I will see you all again tomorrow. I appreciate you guys always watching the videos. Please share them. Remember, if you like the videos, it boosts them up in the algorithm. Obviously, subscribing does too, and sharing the videos do too. But if you hit that like button, it's going to push them up into that recommended category and will boost that algorithm for the video itself naturally. So if you don't mind, please do that. Thanks, guys.